Okay, so we've all used the quadratic formula, but sometimes it's nice to see where it comes from. So here we go. You use the process of completing the square like you've done with other problems already. A, B, and C are treated like numbers. X is treated like a variable. So the first thing you would do is you would subtract the C to the other side. So that you just have x terms here. The next thing needed for completing the square is to have a coefficient of 1 here, so we don't want the a there. So we're going to divide everything by a, both sides by a, which causes a distributive over here. We're leaving just x squared plus, now the coefficient to the x is going to be b over a, and then over on the other side we have a minus c over a. Next step then is we create our perfect square trinomial. So we take x squared plus b over a x plus something is going to equal negative c over a plus whatever it is we add here, we have to add to this side to keep it balanced. The way to find this number is to take half of the coefficient here. Half of b over a is going to be half times b over a, which is going to be b over 2a. We have to add that to the other side as well. Again, it's 1/2 times b over a is going to be 1 times b over 2 times a. And then you don't leave it as b over 2a, it's that squared. So that's what you have to add to both sides, b over 2a squared. That creates our binomial squared, x plus b over 2a. That number, the sign comes from here. This is always a plus sign. So the plus comes from here. And this will be half of this coefficient or the square root of this. Over here, we've got some work to do because we need a common denominator. So we'll call this, let's see here, multiply, actually, let's not do that yet. Let's change this to, let's square this out. So we'll do the b squared, and down here will be 4a squared. And we got to get a common denominator, multiply top and bottom of this by 4a. So we've got our common denominator so that we can actually combine those. So I'm going to flip that order and make it b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. All right, let's get back to here. What we're going to do now is we're going to square root. Well, you know what? Let's forget that. We're just going to recopy this. Now we're going to square root both sides. When we do that, this turns into a plus or minus, square root of that entire mess. The top cannot be simplified. The bottom can be. It's the square root of the numerator over the square root of the denominator. Over here, I'm just left with x plus b over 2a equals, I'll move the plus and minus to the top. Square root of the bottom is going to be just 2a. So now when I minus b over 2a from both sides, probably should have wrote it out there. I'm just left with x equals negative b over 2a plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And you can kind of see that we have a common denominator here already. So there's your quadratic formula. X equals all over 2a.